On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, it's an American nightmare.
And we're all in rat hell. Let's do this.
Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk season 12, episode 4, American Nightmare.
Running scared.
Yeah, I feel like this does not feel like a holiday episode, but that's okay. So
it's
here
okay. It's during, winter solstice has already passed. So,
yeah.
We're already through most of the holiday season.
So what have you been up to, Liz?
I would say, it's frolicking through the winter snow, and the seasons are so messed up that my orb weaver spider has laid a second sack of,
yeah.
I guess, she's amazing, and is a beautiful, like, peach colored sack of eggs that is hanging above my door. But now I'm sad that she's probably going to die soon, because typically spiders don't live that long after they do that. But, I have faith, maybe. But soon hundreds of spiders will come out of that little sack and float away and float to your houses.
No, too far.
I will send you one of my little familiar spiders, Diana, all the way up 35. No. It'll be in his little
balloon. It'll be stuck in traffic. It'll be fine.
Just be stuck. It's going to go by Buc-ee's.
Which, how many times? Because, you can go to more than one Buc-ee's on the way.
It can go to more than one Buc-ee's, so it's going to have a little adventure on the way up there. But, yeah, beyond that, it's during the end of December, I think everything kind of slows down.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and what about you? I know you've been slowing down.
Yeah. Well, I kind of have to slow down. Well, I'm in full, I'm a little ball of holiday cheer. So and I say that it sounds like I'm being sarcastic. I fucking love holidays. I'm about that shit. I am sparkled up all over the place in my house. But I also got a new knee the other day. So I'm having to move a little slower than I'm used to. And it's kind of crazy. My new dream is to set off a metal detector with my knee. That'd be cool.
That'll be cool. But also because you're a woman, nobody will care.
Yeah. It's true.
I said 95% of the metal detectors I set off, people just look at me and wave me through.
I know. They're like, yeah, whatever. It's funny. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and you're going to be like, but
I want you to wand my knee really badly, please. But yeah, so no, that's a lot of excitement. So we're going to stick with that. That's what I got.
That's pretty big. You have a new body part.
I do. It's crazy. It's weird.
But
I'm glad I did it. I will be gladder I did it later. Right now, it's kind of just there's a lot of medication and restrictions, and I'm using a walker. I don't know. Doesn't sound great right this minute, but I'm excited for the future.
Yes, the future of your knee.
Yes, there we go.
All the running you will do on it.
Yeah, sure. That's what I'm planning on doing.
That's not why you got a new knee to go run marathons.
Yeah, no, pass.
No.
Hard pass, but that's okay. Oh man, but yeah. Why don't you tell us about this episode?
Yeah, so American Nightmare, this really is if you didn't hear the lyrics I was making fun of, this really is a song by the Misfits, and the writer of the episode tweeted a link to it, so he really was referring to the Misfits song's American Nightmare. And if you think about the lyrics to that song, basic theme is about a dude who chops his girlfriend's head with an axe. So and then runs on a highway, and like there's things with the devil in it, so maybe like that's what it has to do with it. But this first aired November 3rd, 2016. It was directed by John F. Showalter. He hasn't done anything this season. Last season we were only on episode 4. Last season he did episode 6, Our Little World, and he did a couple in season 10, including Halt and Catch Fire and Paint It Black. And this was written, as I said, by David Perez, and this was his first episode of Supernatural. Recently, he's become a writer and producer for Star Trek Strange New World, but he is an East LA boy, and he grew up watching horror movies, playing guitar with local punk bands, and he was in sketch and improv groups. He was expelled from 4 different high schools and passed the GED and supported himself working odd jobs in production, which I always think is really cool. And then he did a bunch of good stuff, blah, blah, blah. That you can go look at his IMDb if you, that's what I'm reading from if you want to read more. But yeah, I'm always glad to have a fellow punk rocker in that. So in that way we get some nods to that. And then we're going to go right into our recap. And our recap is reaching far back into the archives.
Way back. We are back to Sam and all of his fellow psychics that he has discovered along the way.
All of those, like, what the hell happened to Sam's psychic abilities? We just forgot about those, right?
Does he have those anymore? Did they get tortured out of him? I don't know.
I love in this episode, even he's not sure.
He's not sure.
He's not. So, spoiler alert, that happens later in this episode. So, all right, we open. Anything else in the recap? Sorry.
Just mom leaving and Dean sad.
Yeah. Okay. So we open zoomed in on the stained glass windows of a church, which just makes me nervous because I just feel like it's just going to break.
But they don't.
But they don't. It doesn't. No. That's just what I'm automatically going, like, how are you going to destroy the stained glass? But it seems to be in the middle of the day. We're in Mason City, Iowa, and there's like a priest doing his incense thing in the middle of his church.
Yeah. And a woman doing her, praying the rosary. And a crying woman enters the room, and she is bleeding from the centers of her hands, from her feet, and she appears to be getting whipped and is by something invisible and starts bleeding from the back. So we have what we would assume out the gate is signs of a stigmata. If you follow those kind of things. But
if you follow those kind of things. It's on
like, I was like, oh, it's a stigmata. And I'm like, oh, wait, they don't talk about that yet in this episode. But yeah, that's what it is. So, and she falls at the feet of the priest, and she starts bleeding from her ears and from her face, from her forehead, and is yelling about how they're all guilty, and collapses. And speaks another language and then collapses.
Yeah, she's speaking in tongues, and it's very distressing. And she's on the floor, and it's just blood, and like this gross. And we go to a title card, and this time the boys are coming in hard as priests. And they're just not even trying anymore. It's Father De Niro and Father Penn.
Yeah, not even trying. And they're asking the priest about Olivia Sanchez. That's the woman's name that we saw collapse. And he's like, I'm not talking about it anymore, because apparently he had gone to the press, and the church and the media and the public basically thought he was cuckoo.
Yeah, because he said it was the devil's work. And the boys start asking him questions, and then he's surprised by the questions that they're asking. But they're just going straight into was there any smoke? Was there any sulfur? And then Sam's just like, that tongue didn't sound like Hebrew. That sounds like Aramaic.
Yeah. And we find out also that this priest knew her, so he knew like this was, it was not something that she necessarily, he didn't believe it was something she did necessarily. So yeah. And so Sam and Dean are going to leave the church, and they're like, well, this is not a demon, surprisingly. So could it be a rogue angel? Who knows? So Dean's going to call Cass, and they agree that it's really weird. And then he's obsessively texting mom with no answer.
Yeah, he's sending her really weird texts that I wouldn't even send to people I was trying to date. They're just very uncomfortable that he's sending them to his mom. And Cass has then told Dean that he has teamed up with Crowley, and Lucifer is now the master of butt rock.
Yeah, good old Vince Vincenti. And we learned that Sam's kind of a fan. Sam's into this and thinks it's cool. And Dean is unimpressed, not a fan, thinks it's fucking lame.
Especially because Vince Vincente once had purple hair down to his butt and a spiked codpiece.
Yeah. Sometimes the 80s were a motherfucker. Yeah.
I appreciate a good codpiece. Just
so, yeah. Anyway, so they're like, Sam's like, okay, well, we need to go figure out what's going on. Olivia, she was speaking Aramaic, and she was saying, "Save me, oh God."
That's stressful.
Yeah. Yes. And Dean's like, well, from what? Boom, boom, boom. Isn't that the question we all want to know, Dean? So they go to the morgue, and Carl's working in the morgue and is being very helpful, and Dean's being a big old dick to him.
And he's being kind of a dick to everybody.
Yeah.
And he throws poor Carl out of the room. Sam thinks Dean has gotten cranky since Mary has left. Mm-hmm. And they are looking at the corpse of Olivia, and they have diagnosed her with, as Diana pointed out earlier, stigmata. So we're going to talk about what is stigmata and why am I going to talk in a horrible Italian accent I'm so sorry about what's about to come. This is Lore. All right, so what is stigmata? So the word stigma comes from the Latin word stigma, and that is from the Greek word stigma.
Thanks.
I like it. Isn't that great? That breaks it down. So that means the mark of a pointed instrument, puncture, tattoo mark, or brand, which I did not know. So it's related to marks or tattoos, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
And according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, stigmata in Christian mysticism are bodily marks, scars, or pains corresponding to those of the crucified Jesus Christ, that is on the hands, on the feet, near the heart, and sometimes on the head from the crown of thorns, or on the shoulders and back from carrying the cross and from the scourging with the whipping.
Yeah.
So they are often presumed to accompany religious ecstasy. A stigmatic person may temporarily or permanently have one or more of these wound marks, which may be visible or invisible to others. From the 14th to the 20th century, more than 300 people were identified as having been stigmatized. And that's why I looked up the kind of the background of the word stigma, because I was that's interesting. I think that word is stigmatized.
Super interesting. Yeah.
Anyhow, so more than 60...
because in general culture we use stigmatized in such a different way. But yeah,
right,
very cool.
So more than 60 of those 300 persons were identified as saints in the Roman Catholic Church. And we're going to talk about one of those who also became kind of a cult leader. And his name is Padre Pio. And he is from Pietrelcina, Italy. And I will try not to offend all our Italian. We do have people who've listened from Italy. Sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. So he was born Francesco Forgione on May 25th, 1887, to peasant farmers. He came from a deeply religious family that attended mass daily, and he began seeing visions by the age of 5. The first being the apparition of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which I believe is the heart with the thorns around it, which would be kind of like, that'd be a cool thing to see. Then he had visions of the Virgin Mary, and he met his guardian angel, with whom he made a pact always to follow whatever missions God put before him while he was 5. Though he was very religious, his childhood was marked by illness. First gastroenteritis at 6. Then he caught typhoid fever at 10. He had a fever so high that his doctor informed his mother he had only hours to live. His mother, distraught as she was, still had to cook food for all the workers, so she made fried chiles. But the workers couldn't eat them. They were too spicy. But the smell of fried chiles lured sick Francis from his bed, and he ate them all. Then he returned to his bed, and he became very thirsty. His brother brought over, yeah, right. His brother brought over a bottle of milk, and instead of like the small sips that he had been taking, he downed the whole thing. But after that, all the signs of his fever disappeared and he became healthy again. So he ate a buttload of really spicy chilies and he beat typhoid fever when he was 10. Oof. So at that age, he decided that he wanted to be a monk. Some say that he met a monk that was out asking for alms in the countryside, and that's where he got the inspiration from. His parents supported the idea, but he needed more education than what his previous schooling had. So his father hired private tutors, traveling to America to pay for the bills. So he would, like, his dad left them, went to America, and was sending money back so he could get private tutoring. He continued to be sick and to battle demons. Father Gabriel Umworth said in his book on Padre Pio, the devil appeared to him under many different forms, as a big black cat, wild and threatening, or as a repulsive animal in the clear intention to frighten him, under the appearance of naked and provocative young girls who danced obscene dances, obviously to test the chastity of the young priest. However, the worst was when the devil took on the appearance of his spiritual director or poses Jesus, the Virgin Mary, or St. Francis. So as a young kid, he's seeing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Sure is. All right. At the age of 15, he entered the monastery of the Capuchin friars at Morcone, where he took the name Pio to honor Pope Pius I, whose relics he often saw at his local chapel. 2 years later, he became so sick he could only eat milk and cheese, which I'm not sure what sickness that is.
I have not had that sickness.
There are times where I kind of only want to have milk and cheese, but it's not a sickness.
Usually it's going to make me sicker.
Sicker, yeah. So, still sick though, he still studied for the priesthood. And during this time, he had his first bilocation. Multiple eyewitnesses attested over the years that Padre Pio could be in multiple places at the same time. So this first time was a cold winter's night, January 11th, 1905, when while praying, Pio found himself transported to an elegant house where a young girl was being born. The Virgin Mary then appeared and told him, I entrust to your care of this creature. She is an unpolished stone. Work in her, instruct her, make her shine as much as possible, because one day I want to adorn myself with her. He questioned her choice, as he wasn't even a priest, and she told him not to worry about this, and this girl would meet him at the Basilica of St. Peter. Then he whooshed back to where he was praying. 18 years later, that girl confessed to him at the Basilica of St. Peter. Crazy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Padre Pio explained these supernatural occurrences just as an extension of his personality. During World War II, there was a dramatic incident that occurred over San Giovanni Rotondo, a town that he had said he would protect. So as American bombers approached the city, ready to release their payload, a brown-robed fire materialized in the air ahead of the aircraft. And when this happened, all efforts to deploy the bombs failed. Later on, one of the pilots visited the friary and to his astonishment met the friar he had seen in the air. Spooky, huh? Mm-hmm. So Padre Pio was ordained in 1910. However, his illnesses kept him much at home. But this is the first year that he received the stigmata. While painful, they were only temporary. World War I came, and in 1915, he was drafted into the medical corps. But again, he was so ill that he was eventually discharged in 1918. Like, they kept sending him, he kept coming back and sending him home. And then finally they were just like, get out of here. You were too sick, buddy.
Yeah. You're always a sickly dude.
You're a sickly. In August 1918, Padre Pio reported feeling the lance of Christ pierce and burn him. Witnesses who examined the resulting physical wound on his left side claimed it was 3 inches long and in the shape of a cross. Then in September, Padre received the stigmata while praying in a church. These were not temporary and remained visible the rest of his life. The wounds were said to have the odor of sanctity and always smelled of perfume or a floral aroma. So his wounds always smelled like roses, which is Weird. Doctors who studied them described them as perfectly round. In 1919, the chief physician of the Civil Hospital of Barletta, Luigi Romanelli, studied the objects and reported, "The lesions on his hands are covered with a membrane that is reddish-brown in color without any bleeding, swelling, or inflammation of the surrounding tissue. I am convinced without a doubt that the wounds are not just superficial. When I press my thumb together in the palm of his hand and my index finger on the back of his hand, I clearly perceive that a vacuum exists between them." X-rays had taken in 1954 showed no abnormalities. However, there were a course that said that the stigmata was a fraud. And Padre Pio was said to have purchased large amounts of carbolic acid and the caustic Veratrine. Pio said the carbolic acid was to clean healing instruments and the Veratrine was for a practical joke. Apparently, he wanted to make some friars sneeze or something with this very caustic substance. What else? So people traveled from afar to see Padre Pio's wounds. Other supernatural phenomena were attributed to him, including levitation and healing. He was said to go days without sleep or food besides the Eucharist. He could speak in tongues and had the gift of conversions. I'm not actually sure what that is. His popularity increased and his charisma encouraged devoted followers. People would flock to his monastery on top of cliffs just to give him confession. There were so many people coming that the Vatican banned him from celebrating the Eucharist. They were starting to get afraid that he was getting too many followers. And then there were also some people being like, yo, like, you can't have like these many people devoted to you and still be like a monk, a priest who has vows of chastity and obedience and being pious, right? But they reinstated his priestiness, whatever, in 1934, and priesthood. I don't know. They took away his. They reinstated him.
Yes,
and he was once again allowed to give mass, and the Pope was encouraging people to visit him.
Okay.
In 1947, Father Karol Wojak. Oh man, my grandmother would come down and smack me at the face and not be able to say this one particular Polish name. But so this one particular Polish priest visited Padre Pio, and Padre Pio prophesied that he would attain the church's highest office, fulfilled in 1978 when he became Pope John Paul II.
Weird.
Yeah. Padre Pio opened a hospital in San Giovanni Rotondo in 1956 and became internationally famous, advising pray, hope, and don't worry. He, however, did continue to contract illnesses, including cancer, which he miraculously cured after 2 treatments. He had 5 rules for spiritual growth: weekly confession, daily communion, spiritual reading, meditation, and frequent examination of one's conscience. He was very opinionated about modesty and authentic spirituality, dismissing those in confessional who he deemed insincere or he thought just needed to get their shit together. I'm sure that is exactly how he phrased it. Just get your shit together and go. But he would also dictate how women dress. They put a sign on his confessional: by Padre Pio's explicit wish, women must enter his confessional wearing skirts at least 8 inches below the knees.
Whoa.
That's really long. I'd be tripping. So he died September 23rd, 1968. However, a few days before that, his stigmata disappeared, leaving no trace or scar. Dun, dun, dun. His funeral was attended by over 100,000 people. 300,000 people attended his beatification mass in 1999 by that same John Paul II. It is said after that mass, an Italian boy named Matteo Pio Colella recovered from a coma. Then Padre Pio was canonized and made a saint in 2002. So the main pilgrimage destination of where he made the hospital, that's where people go.
Yeah.
After his death, it became a significant pilgrimage site. So they had to add on a new shrine, and that had a capacity for 6,000 people, and it had a parvis that could hold 30,000.
That's massive.
Yeah. Then the church is weird. In March 2008, the church decided to exhume Padre Pio so he could be put on display. So he died in 1968. So they decide in 2008 that it seems cool to take him out and put him on display. The body was described as being in fair condition, and Archbishop Domenico Umberto de Ambrosio, papal legate to the shrine in San Giovanni Rotondo, stated, "The top part of the skull is partly skeletal, but the chin is perfect, and the rest of the body is well preserved." The stigmata was not visible. However, due to the decomp, they did make a silicone mask based on a photograph of his corpse instead of leaving his face out. It was nice of them. He was dressed in his brown capuchin habit with a white silk stole embroidered with crystals and gold thread. Originally, the body was scheduled to only be on display until December 2008. However, due to the overwhelming demand of reservations and the fact that only 7,200 people a day could view his crystal coffin, the display was extended until September 2009. They said to see his uncorrupted body was a transcendent experience. The remains were moved to a golden crypt in 2010. It is estimated that over 9 million people have visited the body of Padre Pio since 2008. And if you do that, you can take home many souvenirs, including tiny water bottles that contain chemically perfumed water from the mountains. You can get some plastic statuettes that contain his story. There are some battery-operated votive candles, some calendars, and some cigarette lighters with his picture on them. That's really nice.
Classy.
Yep. So also he had these prayer groups that started the 1950s. Pope Pius VII called for this formation of everybody. Like, we want people doing prayer groups, right? So, and Padre Pio was like, we can do that. And so by the time of his death in 1968, the prayer groups had 68,000 members across 700 groups in 15 countries. And it continued to grow with approximately 3,300 registered groups in 60 countries as of 2013, the majority being, of course, in Italy.
Yeah.
Following his canonization in 2002, a new television station named Padre Pio TV was launched in Italy, dedicated to his life and devotion.
Whoa.
Yeah, based at San Giovanni Rotondo, it broadcasts online through its own website and various internet platforms. So you can still log on to Padre Pio TV. There are a ton of foundations and places that are dedicated to him. And he was moved again when the remains of St. Pio were brought to the Vatican for veneration during the extraordinary Jubilee of Mercy in 2015 to 2016. Both him and St. Leopold were designated as saint confessors to encourage people to seek reconciliation with God. And they had like this weird like confession festival where they had like all these like wooden confessional booths set up outside the Vatican, like kind of like kissing
mass
booths,
confessionals.
but like it was mass confessionals.
Interesting.
With the corpses of these two saints there.
Yeah. That's
Church
something.
is kind of weird sometimes, man. I'm telling you. But yeah. So St. Pio is a patron saint of civil defense volunteers, and he is unofficially recognized as the patron saint of stress relief and the January blues, a designation given by the Catholic Inquiry Office in London. To honor Padre Pio's famous advice, pray, hope, and don't worry, they established Don't Worry, Be Happy Day. This event is held on the most depressing day of the year, which they identified as the Monday nearest to January 22nd.
Oh, that's random.
Isn't it so random? I did not know that was, today I learned that was the most depressing day of the year.
Interesting.
Thank you, Catholic Church. Thank you, Padre Pio, for your stigmata. That did not smell bad.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't smell bad.
And I kept feeling like your roses really smell like... So that's the story of Padre Pio and his stigmata.
Okay.
So we can go back to the other stigmata, which Padre Pio did not have this. This stigmata also comes along with some brain goop.
Yeah,
Some
where her
goopy mush
skull is full of goopy mush. What can do all that is what we are left asking. So Sam and Dean go to Olivia's work because they're going to go talk to her coworkers to find out what the hell this is all about. Because apparently she worked for CPS. And they have met with Beth, who worked directly under her and now has her job and her office. This sounds like a motive. And Dean is definitely sus of Beth when they walk in and, there is a candle burning on the desk with a
Ooh.
pentagram on it.
Ooh, there's a candle burning. Ooh, so scary.
It's not the candle. It's the pentagram on the candle. That's upsetting me.
Well, and she says that she's Wiccan. I mean, she doesn't say she's a witch. She says she's a Wiccan.
It's for positive energy.
And it's for positive energy. I am more like, why can you burn a candle in a civil building?
In a government office, right?
Yeah,
like,
I don't think this is allowed.
No. You have to buy those coffee mug warmers and put it or a candle warmer and put a candle on that. That's the only way you can do that, right?
That's the only way you can get the candle smell.
So, and Sam wants to talk to Beth, and she's like, yeah, Olivia was her boss, and the rumor is that she killed herself. That is the messaging they're receiving, and Sam and Dean don't really confirm or deny that. They just start asking like, well, was she acting strange? And they're like, well, she had migraines and headaches, but she worked really hard. Everybody knows she overworked herself. So, and they're like, well, what about enemies? She's like, we work for CPS. I assure you, we have angered lots of fucked up families.
Yep.
So Sam asks for case files, and as they leave, Dean's like, well, that was easy. Obviously, it's the witch, so she wanted the bigger office, so now we just need to put a witch-killing cap in her and call it a day.
So Dean has jumped to conclusions that it is clearly Beth, and we're going to go into trunk and get some witch killing bullets out of here, which are not in a magazine or prepped in a witch killing bag. They are just it. Nope. No. Okay. You guys are so unorganized, but
Sam
is just like, maybe you're jumping ahead here, buddy. Like perhaps. You're thinking a little too much.
So we've been to Olivia's home, her church, and her place of work, and there's no sign of a hex bag anywhere. It might still be Beth, but we might need some proof first. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe just get some.
So we cut to a dude loading produce. We find out his name is Ricky at Joe's Market to do laundry. Good Lord. Grocery delivery. I don't know where I said laundry. I said loading dock, and my handwriting's terrible. That's her. There we go. And he starts experiencing the invisible whipping that we saw Olivia experience. And he starts speaking in tongues. And we've got a song called Golden Dunes by the Budos Band playing. And then dude dies.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable to watching someone get invisibly whipped to death, and his hands have the holes, and so it's much like the same thing. So we go the next day, and the coroner has agreed this is once again stigmata with brain scrambling. Mm-hmm. And Sam has checked the delivery kid's route against Olivia's case files because the office didn't need those. Those kids are all fine now.
Yeah, nothing to see there.
You can just give those to these people. Yeah, okay. Totally that's cool. But he has found a match.
Not sus. But yeah, not sus. Totally cool. Totally fine. Totally fine file handling here. And the overlap is the Petersons. So they call Beth and they're like, tell us about the Petersons. She's like, they're weird. Like really, really weird. Like off the charts religious, Old Testament, and their oldest, Magda, died of pneumonia several years ago, as they said it was God's will, and refused to let a doctor see her.
So we go to the Petersons' house, because that's, of course, where we're going to go. And there is a locked gate that Dean has trouble getting over, and Sam has no trouble walking around it.
We're also on costume number 3 for the guys, because we had priest, and then we had FBI, and now we're in like professor / civil surgeon.
I call them Mr. Rogers outfits.
There we go. And they're noting that even the power line post to the property has been chopped down. So they're pretty fucking serious about this. But Sam is going to bring up the Dean and mom situation again, because he's like, look, it's not abnormal for mom to need space, but what's going on with you about this? This is weird. And Dean's upset because he knows that Mary hates how they were raised, hates that they're hunters, and so because of that, he's scared she won't come back.
She's just gonna stay away.
Mm-hmm. And that he's the only one that's interested in keeping this family together. That kind of attitude from Dean is we're getting. But so they get greeted by Abraham Peterson at the house, and Sam introduces them as James Morrison and Ray Manzarek, which are members of the Doors. Once again, not even trying anymore.
Yeah, no. And like I can't believe like this dude looks like he should know who the members of the Doors are. Like how could you not? And just kind of like well, fuck you. How do you not know who members of the Doors are? So like, yeah, you deserve whatever you get. So Dean is also surprised, though, like not only that he does not get this reference, but this dude does not have long hair or suspenders or a big fuck off beard.
No, he looks like a fairly normal like dude on a farm. Like modern dude on a farm. And so they sit down inside and talk to Abraham and his wife, Gail. And this is where Sam informs them Olivia's dead. And they're kind of unsure what happened. But the Petersons share that they liked Olivia better than Beth and that she visited every few months. But Beth hates them for their faith. And while Olivia was a papist, at least she believed in God. So there you go.
Yeah, and when they ask him if they believe, Dean is emphatically agreeing that him and God are besties. Yes. And, and this is where we kind of start seeing this. And I do always love when we have these extreme religious people on the Supernatural and the guys are like, we just hung out with God like 2 weeks ago. Yep. Like, I just left. We're literally looking for Lucifer right now. So I know who the devil is, right? And so that starts coming through right here. But then a young man comes in and says something to the dad who asked the boys for help.
Mm-hmm. So we out on the road where they had to park Baby, we see a motorcycle pull up to Baby, look very closely at the license plate, and then drive off. So
and it sounds British, and it is the bike from last week's episode.
Yeah. And back at their compound, I don't know, the Peterson farm.
The Peterson farm is just what I called it.
Yeah. Dean is helping Abraham and his son Elijah putting a wheel back on a wagon. And they're like, well, he's like, well, you're out here by yourself. If something goes wrong, what do you do? And he's like, pray harder. And Abraham explains that he's not great at all this because he was actually a computer programmer up until 5 years ago. So this is a new lifestyle.
Yeah. And so he has come out with his mantra and his observation that the world out there is all distractions, consumerisms, corporations, and the people, if they're not shopping or stuffing their face, they're sitting in front of some screen watching fake people do fake things while the real world just gets more and more screwed up. And that is, kind of what has taken him outside of the tech world into this world where they have to figure out how to put a wheel on a buggy without YouTube.
Yeah. And so Dean helps them. While all this is going on in the house, Gail is talking to Sam. She brings him lemonade because they're out of coffee. And he looks at a family photo and comments on being a happy family. And she's like, no, because their father worked 80 hours a week. And just to barely pay the mortgage. There was any little time he had at home was spent in the bottle. Kids were on 4 different types of behavior modifiers. She's going on, but they didn't.
Everybody was filled up.
Yeah, and then and mom was pilled up too, and then God showed them a better way because she was in a car accident. She almost died. All these nerves and her lower body were all fucked up. And the doctors couldn't stop the pain. They just kept giving her a bunch of pain drugs. And finally, she, was lying in a puddle of her own vomit from taking pain pills, basically. And God told her to go live a life of simplicity. And the pain would be taken away.
Yeah, take a note from that as you're taking pain pills for your knees. Do not wake up in a pile of your own vomit. If you hear a voice, remember it may not be God's voice. So Sam is just like, what about this delivery boy? He's dead too.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I see. And that's it. That's all she's got is an I see. And so she's just like, well, God just has a plan for us all. And he's like, so does that include your daughter? Is that part of God's plan? She's like, yes. She didn't. And he's like, but she didn't have to die. And, God doesn't care what kind of life you have. God didn't tell you, God didn't kill your daughter. You did. What he tells her.
Yeah, and Sam is pissed.
He's
furious. He's furious, especially because he knows that it was not God. Like, he literally knows that Chuck did not kill this woman's daughter.
Yeah.
And so, but unfortunately for Sam, as he got his role on, Dad and Elijah and Dean have walked in and have overheard Sam telling the mom that she killed her kid. And so now they're going to throw them out.
Yeah, they got to go. So, but this does take us back to the road, to the car, where we get a lovely look at Trunk.
Team Trunk!
And Dean's like, well, we're clear on what we have to do, right? And Sam's like, definitely. But they are clearly not on the same fucking page. Because Dean is still he's still fixated on Beth the witch. And Sam's like, no, we got to go after Magda's ghost on the property. So Sam wants to go ghost hunting, and Dean wants to go kill Beth. Somehow Abraham's little mantra speech got to Dean, and he's like, "Okay, this makes sense." And whereas,
this is all fine. Clearly, there's a witch. Okay, and he just thinks that the family is good people, so he's gonna storm off and go find Beth.
Yeah, and but Sam points out though that there's no connection. Beth doesn't know Ricky, so there's no connection between her and the delivery boy. And so Dean's like, fuck it, I'll figure it out. And so Sam's like, no, this family is super disturbed. And Sam straight up tells Dean that he's wrong. So he's going to stay with EMF and look for Magda while Dean leaves for Beth. Oh my gosh. So we've got Gail watching her husband and son walking the horses around. So she goes down into her basement, and we see Magda on the floor with her back flayed and candles lit. So Magda is not dead.
And she's very bloody.
Yeah, it's really sad and grody. Sad and grody. So she's, Gail's like, what have you done? And Magda's like, nothing. And so basically Gail says that Magda killed the woman and the boy and slaps the shit out of Magda. And Gail is monologuing that they tried to keep the devil locked away and you let him out, and the devil's doing work through you, and hands her a whip and how it's her self-flagellate.
Yeah. And the girl starts saying the same things that Olivia and the delivery boy were saying as she whips herself before this really weird looking cross. And Elijah is spying in from the window.
Mm-hmm. So Sam's creeping around the property and ends up with the EMF reader and a flashlight. And he's hides in the stable for a little bit. But then, of course, Abraham and Elijah are there. And he tells Dad that Mom's with Magda. And Abraham's just like, oh, she's just doing God's work. The devil's a deceiver. If anyone found out about Magda, they'd come for her. And, anyways, he's like, I love her, but what she can do. She's our cross to bear. So now there's more hints that Sam has. But he has no signal on his cell phone because that's what always happens, right?
Yeah. But he leaves the barn and he's just pulling out his phone and his flashlight. And he has just been using that flashlight all over this barn at night. I'm like, you are not being inconspicuous here. No. You're just like, here I am, Yeah. But we go from there to CPS, where creepy ass Dean has decided is stalking Beth, and he comes in with the gun out behind his back.
It's crazy pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he starts asking. And he startles her because, of course, she's just there working late. And he is like, so how do you like your new job?
And she's like, I hate it. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, I make more, but I have to work more. And if someone else screws up, it's on me. And if somebody does, and being the boss sucks. Nobody wants this job. And he's like, ah, shit, I fucked up. There is not a motive here. And he slowly puts the gun away in his waistband. So.
Yep. And then when she asks while he's there, he can't figure out a reason. He just kind of stammers.
Yeah, because he didn't have a good one.
Yep, and he's not good at lying. And so we go from there back to the farm, where now Mom is reading in Aramaic while poor Magna whips herself.
Yeah, and Sam's finally able to peek in, but Gail does see him, and that's not good. So finally, Sam is able to get Dean on the phone, and Dean's like, "Well, you were right. Back into the ghost thing." And he's like, "No, Magda's alive." And then we hear the most known sound probably on Earth, the sound of a shotgun being racked.
And Elijah is there, has pulled a shotgun on Sam, and then the dad hits Sam over the head with a shovel.
Yeah. So Dean at least knows that something's fucking wrong and he needs to get back out there. But so back in the basement, Magda is doing a singing prayer at this point, and she's sitting there, but Sam's now down in the basement tied up as well, and he knows her name, and she's like, he's like saying her name, and she's like, "That's not my name, I'm the devil." And Sam's like, "You're really not." Like, no.
The devil's not inside you. He is inside Vince Vincente at the bottom of the ocean.
Right? Like, come on now. We know better. And she's like, I can hear, I can hear him in whispers. He lets me know what people are thinking, and that lets me do things. And he's like, "I can help. Show me." So she like levitates the cross. Cool. Yeah, Sam's like, "I've seen better." He didn't say that. I'm kidding.
You call that telekinesis? And so the Petersons, while that's happening, the Petersons are watching Sam's phone ring, and Dean's calling him. But Sam isn't telling Magda that she's not demonic. She's psychic, like him. I mean, he used to have all these powers too. We don't know what happened to them.
No, but it made me who I am, and it's not evil. And she's like, "Mother says I'm evil because I hurt people, but I don't mean it." And I thought she could help me, but she liked Olivia because she was pretty and she smiled, and I thought she could help me. So we see a little scene of Magda spying on Olivia visiting the house. But she could hear Olivia's thoughts, and it made me, she could reach out to her, and she was trying to share her message, but the message, instead of like coming through Olivia, killed Olivia.
Yeah, it didn't really go as she planned.
No, not intended. So Sam's like, "You're not the devil and you're not evil. You just need to learn how to control your power." So as that's happening, we've got Elijah and Andrew coming downstairs, or Abraham coming downstairs to get them for supper, because apparently now they're just going to bring their prisoners up to eat dinner together.
Guess so.
Yeah, odd. So upstairs, Gail is serving like, it looks like a stew in a big pot to everybody, and Sam's like, "Your daughter needs real help here. What are y'all doing?" And Abraham's like, "What do you think we're doing? That's what we're doing here. We're helping her." and everybody else is like, "What the fuck?" No, but Gail's like, "You talk about knowing God, but we know the deal. Wrestling with her for years is what we do, and we know, you should know that Olivia and Ricky were not the first." Ooh, so somebody else has been harmed, apparently. Apparently Magda wanted a new cell phone, and she yelled at Gail to pull over, and when she didn't, her powers turned the steering wheel and drove the car into oncoming traffic, and that's how Gail, the mom, was in a wreck and got injured.
Yep.
Yep. And she believes that pain purges sin.
Yeah, that's a great thing to think. And so Sam's just like, "You are wrong." And then she says something creepy, and like, it's time, and they all hold hands. And Dad says a grace, and Mom just wants everyone to start just dig into this wonderful meal that she prepared. Then Dad starts foaming at the mouth, and we see a box of rat hell.
Which is quite the name for a rat killer.
Rat hell.
Rat hell on the counter. And she has poisoned dinner because her plan is that if they all eat it together, they stay together by entering heaven together as a family. What the fuck?
And she's like brainwashed this family enough that Elijah almost eats it, right?
He really wants to. He's struggling like, real hard. Dad's dead with his face in his bowl. Magda's like, nope. And Elijah's like got this spoon up to his mouth, like his mom's screaming at him to eat it. It's so crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Magda just gets mad and she flings the spoon. But then, like, mom is like, well, fuck this. And she stabs Elijah.
Yeah, she kills him.
Mom crazy.
And then she's about to try to stab Magda, but Magda's like, oh, hell no, I'm going to use my super telekinetic powers and turn the knife on you and make you stab yourself. But Sam talks her out of killing Gale, which is probably a good thing.
Probably. Like, it's not a good thing. Well, I mean, yeah, don't kill her, I guess.
Yeah.
So we end there and we go to daylight and the ambulance has come and mom is being taken away, but still shouting that she's the devil.
Yeah. Well, the EMTs check on poor Magda and Dean's there and he's just like, sorry, I missed all the psycho. But apparently Magda has an aunt in California that lives on a ranch that she can go live with.
And Beth has like coordinated all of this within the last hour or so. Impressive. That's good. Really impressive because you are good at your job, Beth. So,
but Beth wants to have a one-on-one conversation with Dean.
Yeah, with Dean after he came by her office late night while she was burning candles.
Well, Sam's going to sit with Magda and he's like, look, it doesn't feel like it, but you're going to be okay. Your power doesn't control you. You control it. And here's my number. If you ever need anything, I'll help you out. So as Sam and Dean leave, they're having their little chat and they're discussing how if there was the right call to let Magda go and how fucked up it is that Dean was going to go shoot Beth for no reason. Yeah. And Dean also, though, takes this moment to tell Sam that he's also right about mom. And he hates it, but he gets it, and he'll try to be less of a dick about it. Yay, Dean.
So at least he's acknowledging that. That is growth. Way to go, Dean.
And in that moment, he gets a text message from Mary. Her phone had died, but she's good, and she'll always be mom. Aww. But he doesn't tell Sam, which is weird, too.
Yeah, he doesn't tell him, and that's kind of a dick. He's like, it says to tell him, like...
Yeah, like you just said you're gonna be less of a dick about this a second ago. So anyways, so we see a bus that's going to Santa Cruz, taking a pit stop in Missouri, and Magda gets off to go to the restroom. And we see our motorcycle that we've seen twice now show up, and we see their hand with a cross tattoo on it, which means this is our assassin, Mr. Catch. And he has a gun with a silencer, follows Magda to the bathroom and shoots her.
So upsetting.
Very upsetting. Very upsetting. And then takes a cell phone call because he's cleaning up the Winchester's mess because they couldn't finish the job.
And we learn that this is the infamous Mr. Catch.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Oh, yeah. And this just makes me so mad. It was like, what you like, so, and I know it's on purpose that it makes you mad, but because they give you this thing where you think that Magda is going to be all like safe and like she's going to go live in a farm with her aunt and she's going to have all this fun psychic time. And then like, boom.
Well, the hint when the boys are talking about if they did the right thing, letting her go, about being a monster, that's what that is. Oh, it's so sucky. So sorry.
She's not a monster. Like we determined this back in season 2, and Sam has psychic abilities.
Not a monster.
And we determined, we had many conversations and episodes about it. There was many episodes. Sam is not a monster. He's a freak, not a monster. All right, so let's talk about the peoples.
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
Yeah. So Gail Peterson Peterson's played by Christina Carlisi. She's been in episodes of Night Court, NYPD Blues, CSI, Charmed, Glee, Bones, Bold and Beautiful a few times, has done a lot of voice work as well, including in Ghost in the Shell and other anime programs. Abraham Peterson was played by William McDonald. He's actually got his background's a lot in theater. But he's been in episodes of Quantum Leap, MacGyver, X-Files, Dead Like Me, True Calling, Smallville, Good Doctor, Supergirl, Flash, Resident Alien, and Tracker. He was in the Dudley Do-Right movie. He's Mr. Strutmeyer in the movie Slither, and was a reoccurring character named Gary in Travelers, as well as Principal Featherhead, a.k.a. Warden Norton, in Riverdale. As a reoccurring character. Magda Peterson was played by Paloma Kwiatkowski. She has been an episode of Travelers. She is a reoccurring character named Bree in Murder in a Small Town and Cody in Bates Motel. Reoccurring characters. Beth Roberts was played by Eliza Villani. She's been in episodes of iZombie, X-Files, Flash, Riverdale, Charmed. She also did voice work in Kim Possible and some Marvel cartoons. She is the tech elf JoJo in Noelle, the Christmas movie, and is Ronnie in Sweet Tooth as a reoccurring character as well. Mr. Arthur Ketch is played by... I've got more after this too. Oh my gosh. David Hayden Jones. He's been in episodes of Melrose Place, Buffy, The Vampire Slayer, Charmed, Medium, NCIS, Modern Family. He was a reporter.
In Buffy.
He was like in one episode.
Okay.
But like, he was a reporter in White House Down and has done a lot of Hallmark work. Our Elijah Peterson was played by Gig Morton. He's been in episodes of Batwoman, Yellow Jackets, and Kung Fu. He was B-Dog in Air Buddies, and then Billy in Snow Buddies, Space Buddies, and Santa Buddies, which is a voice in the dog movies with the Golden Retrievers, in case you're wondering. Father Valdecantus was played by Rick J. He's been in episodes of True Calling, Smallville, Arrow, Once Upon a Time. He's a security guard in Freddy Got Fingered. He was a bar attendant in Codename The Cleaner and an officer in the film 2012. Olivia was played by Marissa Portalance. She's been in episodes of Leverage, Zoo, iZombie, Good Doctor, Magicians, and Arrow. And Ricky, interestingly, a lot of his credits are actually in visual effects, including the film Spectre, production work, camera work, director credits, and an editor, including in New Leash on Life. He's also been seen in episodes of Once Upon a Time and iZombie, and plays Neil Armstrong in the short film Stanley Kubrick's The Moon Landing. There we go.
Yeah. At least you finally got to meet David. So I mean, you have seen him at fan conventions.
Yes.
And so nice to, he is one of those who, he is really big in fandom world. So it's cool that we're finally, well, we're still only meeting his hand.
Right. Only his hand and his voice. That's it for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was an upsetting episode.
Yeah, especially when it's, they talked about this being back to kind of a monster of the week, which it was, or not, because, the
monster were the people.
The monster were the people. The monster was the mom. Yeah. And I hate it when the monsters are people. But it does, as I'm rambling on about this, but it's bringing up something that we discussed this shit in season 2. We know what monsters are. Yep. And why are we going back and having to, I know it's because we have the men of letters here, but now we're going to go off again and be like, we have to talk about what monsters are again. God damn it. We figured this out. Yep. We talked about it when we had Benny. We talked how many times are we going to talk about what a fucking monster is? And I guess that's the point of Supernatural, but whatever.
There we go. Yes, that. Well, there you go.
Any other thoughts?
And I think that's it. One bit of supernatural news we did not mention at the beginning, but officially now we're in the world where Supernatural is no longer on Netflix. Officially now, it is now available on Peacock and on Prime.
Yeah, and so some people learned if you have Prime that you did pay for
might
ads.
Might have to upgrade if you don't want to watch ads. I got it fixed already, but yeah.
Yeah, so cool. So tune in next week as we continue on through season 12, and next week will be the return of Elzbieta's Vaca story. So that may be a hint about what's coming up in next week's episode. So cheers, Dirk.
Cheers, bitch. Happy holidays.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.